religious and spiritual leaders, lifestyle gurus, everybody come together and all the citizens participated in what we saw as the biggest Janandolan for sanitation. Be it in the rural areas or be it in the urban cities, people came forth and we saw various different kinds of activities that have happened in the past 7 years for which we see cleaner cities, cleaner surroundings, and much more awareness towards the aspect of sanitation. Next. And here, cities have been extremely creative and participative in conceptualizing different kinds of campaigns, in conceptualizing different kind of interventions. And after 7 years, we have had some learnings. The learnings are very clear. Any city that has been able to engage in a better way, in a sustained way with citizens directly, has been able to get better outcomes. Be it about prevention of open defecation status, be it about open urination, prevention of littering, source segregation, usage of plastics. Any city that has been able to effectively use communication to connect to people has had more performance in terms of the Swachhata outputs and outcomes. And here, the capacity of cities has also differed. The circumstances in which cities and states have performed has also differed. So another important learning that we have is while every city and every team has a need to design such kind of interventions to connect and communicate to people, there has been also a challenge in the ability to design and plan and implement and also to be able to utilize funds. Another important learning is partnership is extremely important. This is not a mission where the city will create certain posters and banners, put certain publicity items, move a few vehicles with loudspeakers. This is about partnership. And we have seen in India, and the world has witnessed this, be it the railways, be it the airways, be it the tourism sector, be it the forest department, be it the wash in schools, or be it about common organizations talking about it in different forums, or even the chambers of commerce talking about it. Look at whichever sector partners have come forward. And they have become a very strong forum of taking ahead this kind of message. So over these 7 years, a lot of partnerships have come up. We need to strengthen and build upon these partnerships. Another challenge and learning that we have is anything that goes on for long has a possibility of fatigue setting in. We have already worked in this sector for 7 years. We have tried different communications, different messages, different strategy. The risk right now is a possibility, slight challenge of fatigue coming in or monotonous communication coming in, which even though we will sort of spend money, reach out, put in effort, might not trigger behavior change. So what is it that we need to bring in as innovation and how do we leverage new models of communication? These are our prime learnings with which we have to step forward to the next phase of Swachh Bharat. How do we connect to people? And the third requirement for the framework is states to have their own tailor-made strategies. A strategy for a northeastern state may be very different from a union territory which is there, or a state which is in the western part of the country will have a different form of messaging in terms of its medium, in terms of its stakeholders, as compared to possibly a southern state. So every state will have to curate its own strategies based on its requirement. And the key objectives of this framework certainly will be enhancement of citizen awareness so that we have the necessary behavior change. Secondly, to promote the new models and mediums of communication, innovate, and connect to people for behavior change. And third is to mobilize all possible partners and stakeholders for a collaboration to scale up our initiatives during this phase of SBMU 2.0. So primarily, I would like to place this entire frame focusing on what would be the key mediums of engagement. Before that, of course, the need, requirement, the mapping of stakeholders, all the key stakeholders will have to be mapped, and then we will have to come to the mediums of engagement. So here, primarily today, we see five key mediums. Our first medium and the most important medium for behavior change is community mobilization and participation. The second would be building up on partnerships. The third would be utilizing all possible means of the mid-media. Digital media has come forth as a very powerful medium of engagement today. And then, of course, the everlasting mass media. Next. So how do we utilize as city administrations and state governments all these different forms of media? The story has to start and the journey has to start with community mobilization. Here, awareness generation. If in some city we still have large patches where there is awareness that needs to be generated on the utilization of community toilet, possibly we will have to accordingly design it like that. So for community mobilization, we will have to engage with local bodies, SLGs, frontline workers, NGOs, etc. We can have agreements, partnerships with educational institutions, NCC, NSS, NYKS, etc. Different kind of focus discussions can come up. Most important, we will have to identify local leaders, local influencers. It could be anyone. It could be somebody from the market association. It could be somebody from the SLG. It could be somebody from the RWA. It could be a teacher. It could be anybody. Somebody who will champion in a particular local region. So this has to be very nicely structured to have maximum impact. Next. After that, we have to build up our strategic partnerships. These will have to be intra-ministerial, of course, at our level, and intra-departmental at the state government level, and very importantly at the district and city level, we will have to bring in this kind of a convergence. For example, at the level of MoHUA, be it smart cities for Swachh, housing and Swachh, metros and Swachh, urban livelihood and Swachh, we see how these converge. Similarly, about interdepartmental and interministerial. This kind of a strategy is something which has to be taken up at the level of the chief secretary, where the mission director is the convener for the SLTC, and all the other principal secretaries of departments are there. And the state strategy for both capacity building and IEC will have to be taken up as a wholesome activity and not with ad hocism of just one or two activities for the purpose of expenditure. The second important thing that will have to be done as far as partnerships is concerned about influencer engagement and brand ambassadors. The beauty of Swachh Bharat is brand ambassadors need not be someone who's extremely high profile and glamorous. Brand ambassador is anyone who can make a difference. So you are in the best position to identify different influencers and brand ambassadors who can bring about a change amongst people. MOUs with civil society and development organizations, and very importantly, engaging with our bulk waste generators, market associations, etc. Wash in schools is an extremely important component. So how do we engage with school students with college students, with education fraternity, having awareness initiatives, bringing in the peer learning network. Can we have a star rating protocol for the garbage free schools, educational institutions? awards, recognition. These are various ideas and suggestions which we are putting in the framework, and cities can accordingly decide what works best for them. Next. The third media of engagement would be the digital media, which is extremely important these days. And using social media outreach, active communication is extremely important. Today, if we look at the social media handles, only 10% of our cities have presence on social media. And even out of these 10% of 4,800 cities, there are only 250 to 300 cities who are active. Now, this is a very large chunk of people who are connected through the digital platform, and we cannot have it as a missed opportunity. So we will, of course, be having different training programs to have some kind of a virtual museum in terms of a repository of the different kinds of knowledge aspect vis-a-vis sanitation. And SwachhTalks, of course, we have started a monthly thematic webinar series. This will be going on. Cities and state governments can also do a similar thing at their level. The next platform of engagement is mid-media. We have seen state governments take wonderful initiatives in setting up IEC experiential centers. For example, in 3, 4 core cities, there are IEC experiential centers where people come, students come, different RWAs with citizens come. And it is not just about passive listening to inputs. It is truly about experiencing through a three-dimensional experience as to what sanitation is and what impact it could cause. So we can think of these kind of centers at the state government level done by the state government in different cities. Engagement with voluntary organizations for different wall painting drives, road shows, street theater, using traditional crafts. For example, we will be starting soon a toy-cathon where we will focus on preparation of toys from wealth. Toy industry is a massive industry, and if we can use waste in a method where we can use it into amusement, entertainment, and toys, that would also be something which can help us for our awareness. And different kind of compendiums which capture success stories, innovation, best practices, etc. Our final medium of engagement is the mass media. This, many of the cities and state governments have been utilizing by way of video and audio spots on television, on community radio, on FM channels, etc. We've also seen a lot of print advertisements. Outdoor media channels are also in this category, so you can also leverage this. Next. So some of the campaign initiatives that we have indicated are based on what the priorities of Swachh Bharat are. First, of course, is solid waste management. We're talking about a garbage-free India. So here, source segregation is key. We have to have home composting, 3R, elimination of single-use plastics. So we have tried to indicate broad areas, but we will have to go into the detail of campaigns depending on the requirement of cities. Some of the broad national campaigns we will, of course, initiate from the central, from Mahua, centrally here, and they will, based on those, we can also curate specific regional and state level campaigns. Next. In terms of budgeting and financing, the evidence is very clear across the entire wash sector, not just in sanitation, but across in health, hygiene, water, and sanitation. We see that wherever there has been a strong investment in interpersonal communication, the behavior change has been most profound and also sustainable. So urban sanitation or sanitation as a sector also requires the same amount of effort and energy and investment vis-a-vis interpersonal communication. So we have tried to give in the framework some kind of an indicative funding of the entire budget that you have. Many times we have seen from the experience of cities that if you have 250 crores with you, you're wondering what is to be done with it. And then we can have some event, you do some posters, you do some banners. But what we will be requesting is actually some thought and planning into it. Structuring as to which are the different platforms that we will use, what is the requirement of our IC communication strategy, and accordingly plan activities and financing. So we have sort of we have indicated that for interpersonal communication, which is 40% of your budget, and media 30%. So we have requesting state governments and cities that at least 7% of the central government funds that goes for Swachh Bharat IC activities has to be mandatorily invested in ITC and mid-media only. That leaves us with about 30%, and with this 30%, you can plan about 50% for your mass media and another 50% for your digital media. But not less than 70% must be invested into IBC and mid-media for sustainable behavior change. Next. So the role of the state governments and cities is quite important here. Rather than just releasing the funds to cities and leaving cities to ideate on their own, there is a requirement to handhold the cities and to walk the path with them. And for this, the first step that would be required is a state strategy for Icdcc. The way we are sort of bringing about a framework here from Mahua, we will be requesting state governments that they also have a strategy as per their specific requirements for the state. And there could also be customized city requirements and a tailor-made approach that is specific for cities. And also, whenever we take campaigns and important activities, it must be an entire statewide activity, because we have seen when the highest level of political leadership participates, different kind of ministries and departments participate, cities and organizations participate, we have the most profound impact. The second important thing for the state will be to identify and leverage the different platforms, facilitate collaborations so that every city does not have to figure out on its own, which leads to a lot of waste of time, energy, many times lack of capacity also. We have to map and plan engagement of influencers. This is something which we will request the mission directors to take the lead in. Also, the intensity and the entire plan for citizen engagement initiatives. We'll have to have a monthly and a quarterly and an annual calendar. We know that by 2026, these are the activities that we need to do. We are also planning that within 2 years, we will have X number of 3-star garbage-free cities. We will have Y number of ODF++ cities. Now, these are not in isolation. These will have to go only if we follow a particular structured path. So what will be the kind of intensity of citizen engagement initiatives during the entire month and quarter and year? And also, finally, formulating the entire budgeting plan for the state and city level activities. So whenever you are sending your action plan for the approval of NARC, and Secretary will be chairing the NARC meetings, and we take up the meetings with the state government, this is how and what we would like to hear from you, that what exactly is your plan? How will you approach this entire thing rather than just sending us 250 crores activities worth of IC? Next. And with this, we are hoping that the key outcomes that we will reach, all these activities, as I said, are not in isolation. We will hopefully be able to sustain, we have to sustain the open defecation free status and have functional CTBTs. We have to treat the used water, including the fecal sludge. We also have to take care of the occupational safety of our Sapai Mitras and make the transition from manhole to machine hole. There has to be a phased reduction in the usage of plastic and stepping up of alternative commodities. We will also have to see that we sustain and improve and bring in efficiency in 100% door-to-door collection, 100% source segregation, scientific solid waste management, remediation of legacy dump sites. Since Swachh Bharat is about clean air, clean water, and clean land, we also have to focus in 154 cities that are under the National Action for Clean Air on mechanized sweeping and C&D waste processing, not just as input activities, but again as a structured approach to connect to people as to what we need to do to have a garbage-free status so that we also contribute towards clean air. So these are the few initiatives that we have taken to bring in the framework. We will be engaging with you continuously and in a sustained manner over the days to come so that this dissemination happens and we can sort of bring about an IC framework that truly builds up on the already wonderful campaign or the wonderful people's movement that is there in the country. We will hopefully be able to step up that. Thank you so much. All the best to the cities.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for that insightful presentation. We now request Secretary of Housing and Urban Affairs, Shri Manoj Joshi, to kindly address the session.
Good morning, everyone. रूपा मिश्रा सभी शहरों से ज्वाइन किए हुए म्यूनिसिपल कमिश्नर्स, उनका स्टाफ, स्वच्छ भारत मिशन के मिशन डायरेक्टर्स, स्टेट गवर्नमेंट के सेक्रेटरीज, हमारे जितने पार्टनर इंस्टीट्यूशंस हैं वो सब। भारत में पिछले 7 साल में जो बिहेवियरल चेंज की कैंपेन हुई है और जितना बिहेवियरल चेंज स्वच्छता के संदर्भ में हमने देखा है, ये अभूतपूर्व है। इस तरह से बिहेवियरल चेंज भारत में कभी हुआ नहीं। इसी का परिणाम है कि आज हम देखते हैं कि ओडीएफ इंडिया बन गया है। लोगों को आप सड़क पे यूरिनेशन या डिफिकेशन करते हुए नहीं देखते हैं। सड़क पे ज्यादातर जगह पे कहीं गार्बेज पड़ा हुआ नहीं दिखता है। भारत के सभी शहरों में अगर हम देखें तो अलग अलग लेवल पे स्वच्छता का परिणाम हमें देखने को मिलता है। कहीं बहुत अच्छा काम हुआ है, कहीं प्रयास अच्छा हुआ है, रिजल्ट काफी अच्छा है पर 100% नहीं है, और कई जगह पे हम लोग लैगार्ड हैं, इतना ज्यादा काम हो नहीं पाया। पर अगर हम देखें जितना हमने पिछले कई सालों में जितनी आईईसी कैंपेन्स की हैं, कैंपेन्स वहीं पे सक्सेसफुल हुई हैं जहां कैंपेन के साथ लोकल बॉडीज ने काम भी किया है। एक तो कैंपेन की है, उसके कॉरस्पॉन्डिंग काम भी किया है। जब हम ओडीएफ इंडिया की बात कर रहे थे तो साथ में टॉयलेट्स भी बनाई गई हैं, इंडिविजुअल घरों पे पब्लिक टॉयलेट्स, कम्युनिटी टॉयलेट्स। इन दोनों का जब सामंजस्य चलता है तभी आईसी कैंपेन सक्सेसफुल होती हैं। एक के बिना दूसरी एक्टिविटी अपर्याप्त है, उसका रिजल्ट नहीं मिलता। पिछले 7 सालों में जो हमारा अचीवमेंट है उसमें हम देखें तो अब आगे करने को हमारे पास क्या क्या है। सबसे बड़ा एरिया जो हम देखते हैं, एक तो जो हमने काम कर लिया है उसको मेंटेन करें। ये भी कोई आसान काम नहीं है। जितनी हमने टॉयलेट्स बनाई हैं उनका अच्छे से मेंटेनेंस हो, लोग उपयोग करें। अच्छे से मेंटेनेंस होगा तभी लोग उपयोग करेंगे। तो इसमें सिटीजन्स का इन्वॉल्वमेंट बहुत जरूरी है। साथ ही में उनके घरों में भी जो टॉयलेट है उसमें पानी हो तो वो लोग उसका उपयोग करेंगे। इस पे भी ध्यान देने की जरूरत है। इसमें भी आईसी कैंपेन की जरूरत है। दूसरा एरिया जो हम शहर एक के बाद एक शहर में देख रहे हैं, डोर टू डोर कलेक्शन बहुत बढ़ गया है। अब कम ही जगह है जहां डोर टू डोर कलेक्शन नहीं होता है, चाहे वो घरों से हो, चाहे कमर्शियल एरियाज से हो, दुकानों से हो, जो बड़े हमारे गार्बेज के जनरेटर्स हैं वहां से हो। डोर टू डोर कलेक्शन काफी बढ़ गया है। अगर जहां नहीं है वहां बढ़ाने की जरूरत है। दूसरा एरिया जो काफी शहरों में आगे बहुत काम करने की जरूरत है वो है सोर्स सेग्रीगेशन गार्बेज का। इसमें कुछ शहरों में तो बहुत अच्छा काम किया है पर काफी शहरों में बहुत काम करने की जरूरत है। इसमें आईसी की भी बहुत जरूरत है। आईसी खास तौर पे जो घरों में जाके लोग कहें, चाहे वो आरडब्ल्यू के माध्यम से, चाहे वॉलंटियर ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस के माध्यम से, चाहे जो कम्युनिटी में हम जिनको अपना मैस्कट माने उनके माध्यम से, हमें लोगों को ये मैसेज देने की जरूरत है और उस मैसेज के साथ साथ सोर्स सेग्रीगेशन पे इंसिस्ट करने की जरूरत है। काफी जगहों पे लोगों के पास काफी मैसेज है कि सोर्स सेग्रीगेशन होना चाहिए, पर जो कलेक्शन करने आता है डोर टू डोर कलेक्शन वो इंसिस्ट नहीं करते, तो धीरे धीरे शुरू में सोर्स सेग्रीगेशन होते हुए उसका परसेंटेज ड्रॉप होने लगता है। ये काफी जगह पे पाया गया है। तो सोर्स सेग्रीगेशन पे इंसिस्ट करना, उसके लिए सेपरेट कलेक्शन का मैकेनिज्म होना और साथ में आईसी, ये तीनों जब एक साथ चलेंगे तभी हमें इसमें परिणाम मिल सकेगा। तो सोर्स सेग्रीगेशन एक बहुत बड़ा एरिया है जिसमें सारा जो साइंटिफिक गार्बेज सॉलिड वेस्ट डिस्पोजल का जो सिस्टम है सोर्स सेग्रीगेशन पे आधारित है। तो शायद हमें जरूरत है काफी शहरों में कि सोर्स सेग्रीगेशन पे फोकस करें और साथ में ही सोर्स सेग्रीगेशन का की व्यवस्था बनाएं। जहाँ पे डोर टू डोर कलेक्शन की व्यवस्था नहीं है वहाँ डोर टू डोर कलेक्शन की व्यवस्था। तो अगर ये दोनों सामंजस्य में चलेंगे कि हम अरेंजमेंट भी करें और साथ में आईईसी भी करें, ये हमें अपने दिमाग में, अपने पर्सपेक्टिव में रखना पड़ेगा। दूसरा, जैसे रूपा मिश्रा जी ने बताया कि बहुत ज़्यादा मास मीडिया कैंपेन जो कि बहुत महंगी है, उससे कहीं ज़्यादा अच्छे रिजल्ट्स जो डायरेक्ट कम्युनिकेशन, चाहे वो किसी के घर जाके करें, चाहे RWAs, लोकल सोसाइटी, NGOs को लेके करें, उसका परिणाम कहीं ज़्यादा होता है। एक ग्रुप एक्टिविटी हो जाती है कि एक एरिया में अगर सभी लोग कर रहे हैं तो बाकी लोग भी करने लग जाते हैं। अगर और साथ में अगर NGOs भी इन्वॉल्व हो, वॉलंटियर्स भी इन्वॉल्व हो, और हम इंसिस्ट करें कि सोर्स सेग्रीगेशन किया जाए, तो परिणाम बहुत अच्छे आते हैं। अभी तक का जो हमारा विभिन्न शहरों में एक्सपीरियंस है वो इसी डायरेक्शन में है। दूसरा, मास जो डिजिटल मीडिया, अगेन की डायरेक्टली लोगों के घर तक उनके फोन से के माध्यम से, सोशल मीडिया के माध्यम से पहुंचना काफी आसान है। इसकी कॉस्ट भी बहुत कम हो गई है। इसके परिणाम भी बड़े अच्छे आते हैं। इन सब के साथ ही जो हमारे बड़े गार्बेज जनरेटर्स हैं, जैसे कमर्शियल ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस, दुकानें, रेस्टोरेंट्स, इन सब का इन्वॉल्वमेंट भी बहुत जरूरी है। वहाँ भी मास कैंपेन जरूरी है ताकि शहर में एटमॉस्फेयर बने, और साथ इंडिविजुअल के पास जाके उनको बताना भी बहुत जरूरी है। इन सब के साथ ही अगर हम देखें तो शहर में जिन शहरों ने अच्छा काम किया है, उनमें एक सेंस ऑफ प्राइड, एक गर्व की अनुभूति दिखती है शहर के सिटीजन, जो नागरिक है उनको, कि हमने बहुत अच्छा काम किया है। तो ये जो फीडबैक मैकेनिज्म है कि आप अच्छा कर रहे हैं और आपने अच्छे करते रहना है, ये स्वच्छ भारत मिशन का एक बहुत अभिन्न अंग है। काफी जगहों पे अगर जैसे हमने देखा है कि कई शहर जो अच्छा कर रहे हैं, जब उनको राष्ट्रीय स्तर पे उनका रिकॉग्निशन होता है तो वहाँ के सिटीजन्स को, वहाँ के नागरिकों को बड़ा गर्व की अनुभूति होती है। इसी तरह से कंपटीशन हम स्टेट के विभिन्न शहरों में, एक शहर की विभिन्न एरियाज में भी ला सकते हैं कि इस शहर में इन एरियाज में बड़ा अच्छा काम हो रहा है, सोर्स सेग्रीगेशन हो रहा है, डोर टू डोर कलेक्शन हो रहा है, इन एरियाज में नहीं हो रहा है, ताकि हम उन जिन एरियाज में नहीं हो रहा है उनको प्रोत्साहित करें। तो सभी शहर और शहर में सभी एरिया अलग अलग लेवल पे स्वच्छ भारत में हैं। उनके लिए अप्रोप्रिएट कैंपेन बहुत जरूरी है, क्योंकि जो एक्टिविटी हम अगली करने जा रहे हैं उस शहर में या उस शहर के उस भाग में, उसके लिए अप्रोप्रिएट IEC कैंपेन हो, ये बहुत जरूरी है। पूरे स्टेट में सभी शहरों में सेम लेवल पे स्वच्छ भारत मिशन में काम नहीं हो रहा है। कई छोटे शहरों में कम हो रहा है, कुछ छोटे शहरों में बड़ा अच्छा हो रहा है, तो बड़े शहरों में कम हो रहा है। तो इन सब को ध्यान में रखते हुए IEC कैंपेन डिजाइन करना शहर और स्टेट दोनों की जिम्मेदारी है। मैं इसके साथ ही हमारी टीम को मिनिस्ट्री में इतनी ऑर्गेनाइज तरीके से फ्रेमवर्क बनाने के लिए धन्यवाद देता हूं, उनको कॉन्ग्रेचुलेट करता हूं, और आशा करता हूं कि इस कैंपेन को हम पूरे देश में बड़े अच्छे से इम्प्लीमेंट कर पाएंगे। धन्यवाद।
Thank you very much, sir. We are thankful to you for sparing your valuable time to chair the session. Now close the first session. You're on. Following the national launch of the Behavior Change Communication Framework for Garbage-Free Cities, we now begin with the second session of the day, which is also the second edition of SwachhTalks, our monthly peer learning webinar series.
A very warm welcome to all the speakers from states and UMPs, distinguished speakers, sector partners, and all the participants who have joined us today for the second episode of SwachhTalks, Swachhata Ki Jyot. This peer learning talk series has been started by Mangwa as part of its multi-pronged capacity building initiatives under Swachh Bharat Mission Urban 2.0. The objective of today's episode, titled Swachhata Ki Jyot, is to inspire states and cities to take the Jan Andolan to the next level through intensified citizen engagement and targeted behavior change communication. Today, in the webinar, we'll be hearing some noteworthy field experiences and best communications practices of sector partners, cities, and states. Moving ahead, the first presentation today in the SwachhTalks webinar series is being presented by Ms. Radha Rani Mitro. Ms. Radha Rani Mitro is Global Creative Advisor at BBC Media Action. She's been shaping evidence-based, insight-driven communication strategies and has been creating ideas and telling stories using digital and legacy media to bring about social and behavioral change, from TV dramas like Adha Full and Navrangire to mobile services like Kilkari and Mobile Kunji to social media campaigns on gender, resilience, and sanitation. Ma'am, we would request you to please start your presentation.
Thank you and namaskar. Greetings from me on behalf of BBC Media Action to all present. Thank you, Ma'am JS, for this invitation. An opportunity to speak today is very special and doubly significant because we have had a hand and we have shaped the SBCC primer at the NFSSM Alliance. So it is an opportune moment to speak about social and behavior change communication. This is going to be just a snapshot of what is already there in the SBCC primer. And I'll be using a couple of experiences, couple of my own global experiences at BBC Media Action to talk about SBCC in general. Designing social and behavior change communication is not magic. Like every other discipline, we know it needs a process. And this process can have a Rolls-Royce version, but it can also be adapted to fit into time and resource constraints. And this, I think, is very key because we are talking about inclusive and indigenous shaping of SBCC interventions across the country. The inherent principles of research, strategic planning, big ideas, execution, proper implementation, and finally, evaluation of impact are, however, non-negotiable. That is, if you want to do clutter breaking and effective communication. So before one dives into designing an SBCC intervention, one has to ask and answer the following questions. Who is it for? What will this achieve? How will it do that? What will success look like? How will we measure that success? Next. We begin with immersion. Therefore, the starting point is always research. And once again, this can be very elaborate research. It can be just immersion trips into the areas where you're working. It can be talking to stakeholders and partners. What do we want to know about the problem we are trying to address? What are the other factors that might influence it? Are we certain that any assumptions we are making are validated? Most critically, though, this stage is about defining and understanding our audience. One of the fundamental values of the BBC is that communities are at the heart of everything we do. And we believe that it is critical to understand one's audiences before we begin to design communication. Who are they? Where do they live? How do they live? Are they rich, poor, young, old, men, women, urban, rural? And what is their role in the behavior your communication is addressing? So once you've defined your key audience, we have to define program objectives. And that is something all of us in the room and across the country are continuously doing. Defining what behavior you're hoping to change. Is it FSM practices? Is it segregating waste, treating water? What is it? For communication, though, you need to develop specific communication objectives. What are the key barriers to behavior that you expect to address through communication? For instance, could you use communication to address a lack of desludging trucks in a town? Clearly not. So what is it that communication can achieve? We like to define these objectives in 3 categories. What do we want our audiences to think? What do we want them to feel? And what do we want them to do? So think, feel, and do. Next slide, please. Now, clearly, you can't go straight from a communication objective, a think, feel, or do objective to a communication output. I mean, if you ask me with my 3 decades of experience to start, generating ideas from a white sheet of paper without knowing any of what has gone before, I would come up a cropper. This is the part where the science, art, and craft of communication come into play. We follow a process that goes straight from insight to idea to execution in order to create engaging, sticky, entertaining outputs that create impact. And you'll be happy to know that this process has been elaborated in the SBCC primer following a single example. What are insights? Insights are very, very key. They are related to a deeper understanding of what makes our audiences tick. And these audiences could be communities, they could be practitioners, they could be functionaries of urban local bodies, they could be media people in a particular city or town. Insights are universal truths about people. You cannot invent an insight. It comes from deep empathy and an understanding of audiences. Insights are not always immediately apparent. So insight is not looking at research, looking at data. Insights have to be mined. And once they are mined from the information you have from all around, they are often blindingly obvious. Insights are then developed into ideas. This is where the science from research-based insight meets the art of creating ideas, creative ideas. For us, ideas must be new, out of the box. They must be specific and clearly identifiable. And some of the best ideas often bring together two disparate things to create balance out of disruption. So ideas have to disrupt and remember the clutter we are all operating in, and therefore they have to really stand out. With the science and art in place, the craft of creating communication output comes into play with execution. An idea can be executed in many different ways, but the execution must always bring the idea to life and must amplify the original idea, making it larger than what you had envisaged it to be. In the next slide, this actually brings me to my next point. An idea has to be able to travel across different platforms or touch points in different formats. Take the fecal sludge monster, Malasur. It's a campaign that can happen on a TV ad, on social media, on billboards and wall paintings. It can equally become a very important narrative hook in a drama, in a television drama like it has in Navrangi Re, or indeed in the upcoming Life Navrangi, which is again our new web episode, web drama series that will be launched on 19th of May on YouTube. So keep your eyes, and Life Navrangi is going to be launched on the Navrangi channel on YouTube. So if you want to watch it or if you want to revisit Navrangi Re, do subscribe. This is my plug for the new web drama. But it is for what we are all doing. You know, we are working on FSM, and in Life Navrangi, along with FSM, we are touching upon very key, aspects of people's aspirations, anxieties, their apprehensions, as well as gender, safety around hazardous cleaning, all of those besides FSM. If we can go to the next slide, please. I thought, and I think this was a request from the ministry team, that I should be talking about a couple of global examples, and I wanted to use Mr. Plan, this whole campaign that we had developed during the Ebola outbreak in West Africa 5 years ago. Now, we originally envisioned Mr. Plan, the radio drama series, and this was mini dramas, and this came to be known in BBC Media Action and overall in the BBC as fast fiction, drama that can be quickly produced, that dramas that are short and therefore can be used in different ways. So it came out of this core insight that this was a terrifying time for the communities, for medical practitioners. We ourselves have felt that during the pandemic. And how do you tell people who are confused, who are terrified about what is the right course of action? So we did a series of mini radio dramas. These were from 2.5 to 5 minutes max. And they actually went on to establish the genre, like I said. We played them independently on radio. We sent them, we used them through WhatsApp. We used them during outreach activities. And very interestingly, we also used them in our radio discussion shows that had already pivoted to Ebola. So for example, say, if if one of the Mr. Plan episodes was about a community chief who was having difficulty in deciding whether or not to have a funeral, and these things are socially very, they're very normative, very, very important for his little grandson who has died of Ebola. He actually, the right thing to do is to not to have a funeral. Then we played it during a radio discussion program, which actually featured two community chiefs. So you play something out, you model the right behavior, and then you have real people from real communities discussing whether this was the right thing or not to do. So this was how we actually used Mr. Plan in a sort of a media agnostic fashion. Next slide, please. Therefore, it's apparent that the key is designing communication and planning a rollout, and it is to ensure that there is room for a memorable, engaging, and impactful idea to grow and evolve over time and across platforms. I heard Rupaji talking about different things like mass media, digital, interpersonal communication, and community outreach. And this is exactly what I mean. How do you apportion effort, budget, etc.? But do bear in mind that sometimes opportunity to see or cost per person reached is something that has to be balanced against effectiveness of a particular activity or a medium. If you think your audience is indeed at the heart of everything you do, the 360-degree approach essentially takes a single idea and creates surround sound for your audience. And at BBC Media Action, we call this a mediating and multiplying effect. You can see, and it's not necessary that mass media has to be supported or the lead media should be mass media. You could do that equally. You could choose to lead with radio and extend to community groups and mobile phones, or you could actually lead with social media and support it with print, billboards, and community engagement. You can actually use any combination of media, and by media I don't mean legacy media at all, because everything is media now. Everything can become a touch point that reaches the audience you're targeting in a cost-effective, in an impactful manner. And that is the beauty of the current times that we are working in, because we have so much we have so many platforms that we can put to use. Doing this, creating and implementing a media agnostic big idea creates this mediating and multiplying effect, and this is surround sound, and which also brings me to a crucible on which every SBCC intervention has to live or die, and that's impact. But evaluating the impact of communication is complex. It is near impossible at times, at almost all times, to attribute impact results to communication interventions. Of course, that just means that it's even more important to do high quality, rigorous impact evaluation research alongside the monitoring of progress or monitoring of implementation. But I also want to make a very, very big point about actually, what are we going out to measure? We can't make apples and then go out to measure oranges. And that, therefore, when research and setting up of indicators of success has to be done right at the beginning. We have also, very importantly, seen the benefits of dose effect, where more exposure to the same content on one platform through one output, or seeing the same idea being implemented across different touch points, raises awareness, engagement with the topic, generates conversations, and increases intent to act. We've had evidence of dose effect through the rigorous impact evaluation we did, third-party impact evaluation we did on our FSM drama Navrangi Re, where we sort of saw that when somebody watched 7 episodes, that's where intent to act became solidified, as opposed to somebody who just watched 3 episodes. We've had the impact, we have seen how dose effect works in a lot of family planning work we have done in the states of Madhya Pradesh and Odisha with our Ek Teen Do campaign, where we saw how each additional medium or touch point added to the change in attitude, raising awareness and intent to act again. I would end, Rithira, if we can go to the Indonesia slide, please. I would like to end with an example from Indonesia. And this is essentially about climate action, which for a long time was not really associated, very much like FSM, not intuitively associated with SBCC. It was not up close and personal. So recently in Indonesia, we have looked at how we can make climate change up close and personal for young people, and how can we, through our intervention, help them visualize their role in green growth. We all know that Indonesia has rainforests, and how can that really shape their own civic identity? I don't want to talk more about it because there's a very nice compact dissemination film. So Rithira, I would be grateful if you could play the film, please. The sound is missing. Can we do something about the sound? Rithira, if we can't hear the sound, then we may want to go back to the previous slide, and I can just spend 10 seconds on explaining how this transmedia campaign was rolled out. So basically, what we did was we wanted to strengthen people's knowledge, attitude, discussion, and civic participation. And we wanted to integrate storytelling into the community level organizations work, and we wanted to provide tools to support implementation, and we wanted to strengthen accountability through increased informed public discussion. So we used a mix of social media, because the youth, young population of that country is very much on social media. And then we just actually amplified all that was happening through storytelling and through discussion programs. So this is essentially what I had to say. I know I didn't have more than 10 minutes. I hope I've kept to time. That, one could talk for hours on this. But again, do subscribe to our Navrangi channel. And as Bineji knows, as Rupaji knows, we are around. We are part of the NFSSM Alliance. And we are very happy to partner with the ministry in, addressing many of the things that you want to address through SBCC, but doing it in a scientific, planned manner. And we are with you always in order to bring about change. We have been part of your journey, and we consider that our, privilege. And thank you very much for this opportunity once again.
Thank you, ma'am, for sharing the science, art, and craft of social behavior change communication. Our next speaker today is Shri Shaumil Ranjan Chaube, Chief Executive Officer and Mission Director, Suda, Chhattisgarh. Sir has an experience of over 8 years in the urban sector, which covers various aspects of urban development. He was instrumental in formulation and implementation of the Chhattisgarh model of sanitation, which has helped the state to bag the cleanest state award in the country for 3 consecutive years in Swachh Sarvekshan. So we would request you to please start your presentation.
Can't seem to share the content somehow.
So we've given you the presentation rights.
Read out, yeah, now it's on.
Yes.
So I hope the screen is visible.
Yes, visible.
So I'd like to give you a brief of what Chhattisgarh model of sanitation here is. So Chhattisgarh is a very small state in terms of urban development, urban sparse. So, but we have a lot of cities. We have about 169 cities, which are quite huge for a city, for a state like Chhattisgarh.
So please full screen the presentation. Sir, we'll request you to please put your presentation on slideshow mode, and also please switch on. Please.
video somehow not starting.
So you can please continue. Not a problem, sir.
Yeah. All right. In terms of the number of cities, Chhattisgarh can be considered a big state, but these cities are not very big. The average population of our cities would be close to around 40-50,000. And what we did with the Chhattisgarh model was that we initially went for a centralized model. That was before Swachh Bharat mission came into existence. But we saw that this model was very complicated, it was expensive, and it was not worth the amount of money that we were spending it. So we then decided to go for a decentralized model. अब इस decentralized model में what we did was we involved about 9,200 women SHG members and we roped them in as Swachhata Didis. And these Didis are the pillars of our Chhattisgarh model of sanitation, which is called Mission Clean City. So these are the Didis that go door to door. They collect the household waste, they segregate it into wet and dry waste, and then they further segregate it into different categories and they earn money out of it. So basically, it's a waste to wealth model which is managed by the Swachhata Didis. So it is a convergence of NULM and Swachh Bharat mission. It was one of its kind. We started with a pilot project in a city called Ambikapur, which has been doing really well in Swachh Sarvekshan, and then we scaled it up to all our cities. So these Swachhata Didis made sure that for the last 3 years, Chhattisgarh has been ranked as the #1 state in terms of sanitation in Swachh Sarvekshan. So how we did it is something else. The technicality that is something else. So this is basically something related to IEC. So I'd be focusing on IEC here. What we did here was that we did not engage in mass communication right from the start. We believed that the cleanliness starts from the households, and that is why we focused on the households from the start itself. So what we found out that the most primary source of communication and information in any city for any Indian right now is WhatsApp. Some people like to call it the WhatsApp University, but we use the WhatsApp University for good because the younger generation these days does not resort to watching news or reading newspapers. So giving ads in newspapers and local news channels would not serve the purpose. We thought that WhatsApp is a tool that everybody has, and we focused on WhatsApp. So we managed to create about 3,586 WhatsApp groups. And through these WhatsApp groups, we added 3,500 into 256 members in each group. Now, if we had created WhatsApp group just for IC, people would have left the groups. So what we did here was that we made sure that certain information that is very important to the public, say some transfer orders, say some sanctions that have been accorded to the ULBs, some development work has been sanctioned. We made sure that this information was first shared in these WhatsApp groups and not the news groups or the newspapers or the local media. So people were engaged with these WhatsApp groups and they had a habit of opening this WhatsApp group to check whether or not something new has come. So, and also with that, we bombarded them with a lot of IC material, with a lot of informatives about Swachh Sarvekshan, a lot of information about how they can take their city forward and what to do, information about home composting and stuff like that. So we managed to reach the mobiles of everybody in our cities, at least everybody who had an Android or an iOS phone with access to data, which is 90% of the Indians these days. Then we moved on to wall spaces. So we identified about 14,000 wall spaces in our cities, and these were lying unutilized, and they had supremely high advertising potential. But instead of monetizing it, we made sure that we used it for IEC. And these were identified strategically with the help of the PIUs that we have. Now, PIUs are field agents in the cities. We have about 100 PIUs that work in clusters in the cities, and they helped us identify this from the ground up and not from the below. From the above. So these wall spaces were also used, and we have about a pool of 4,100 public representatives. So we held constant, engagement sessions with them. We trained them, we sent them to exposure visits, and these people, irrespective of their party lines, became the ambassadors of Swachh Bharat mission. There was this Swachh Bharat mission has seen 2 governments in our state, but the momentum has not stopped. Every public representative is very serious about Swachh Sarvekshan and very serious about Swachhata. So this was the force that we had that helped us, transgress the political boundary lines. Then we moved on to social media. So we have about 169 cities, but we have 523 active social media handles. In the last slide, I'm going to show that Chhattisgarh right now is #1 in terms of social media engagement. And if you search Swachh Sarvekshan in Google, you may find Chhattisgarh there on the top. And that is there in the portal itself. Now CTPTs, the PTs at least were in prime locations, they were in market locations, and they had huge advertising spaces. We used them for IEC of the Swachh Bharat mission itself. And also then we employed 14,000 about brand ambassadors. Then there's a new concept that our government has introduced. It is called Mitan Club. Now Mitan Club is, Mitan in Chhattisgarhi means friend. So Mitan Club was formed in every ULBs, and each Mitan Club has 10 members. So we formed a Mitan Club in each ward, and each ward had 10 members. And the government, out of its own budget, started a scheme called Mitan Club Yojana, and they give 25,000 rupees per quarter to each of these clubs. And these clubs help not only in Swachh Bharat mission, but in dissemination of information, positive information about various government schemes. So this Mitan Club also has helped us a lot. And then the vehicles that we have, the tricycles, the tippers, etc., they are equipped with the public address system, and these are about 3,000 in number. Now, this is just some technical, this is just talk here. What I'd like to tell you here is that IEC in Chhattisgarh was basically not government talking to people through mass media or through newspapers or through news channels. It was people talking to people. So we started creating a pool of people that would help us, disseminate positive information about Swachh Bharat mission. And this started from the Swachhta Didis. Now, Swachhta Didis are someone that go to every household every day, and people know them. They are almost like family members. They are almost like they have an interpersonal relationship with every one of them. They celebrate their festivals with them. They are there all the time. Even the kids know who their Swachhta Didi is. So they are the primary source of information for Swachh Bharat from here. And then we identified groups and for ODF and CTPT maintenance. This is also something that we were the first state to do in the state, because we involved the NGOs and the SHG groups in maintenance of the CTPTs by starting the Swachhta Shringar Yojana. We give them some money every quarter for maintenance of the CTPT, and we've made all the CTPTs completely free for people. So people don't have to spend money. The maintenance part is being taken care of by the NGOs and these women's self-help groups. And in lieu of that, per quarter, some amount of money is given to them. And like I said, we created WhatsApp groups and social media groups, and we made sure that our campaigns are not boring. We deployed memes, we deployed reels that truly work, because they appeal to the audiences, and not just the younger audiences, mind you. These days, memes and reels are pretty popular among everybody, from a 90-year-old to a 5-year-old. So the trends that we have, like we had the Kacha Badam trend in reels right now. So we, tried to enact that Kacha Badam thing with Gaadi Wala Aaya, Ghar Se Kachra Nikal sort of things. And that was very successful over here. And then the stakeholders were identified, and then we had a very supportive supervision from the state. And this is, I think I'd like to skip to the next slide, because I am kind of short on time. So I'd just like to take you through some of the works that we've done here. So we created an IC action plan, and we've been creating this IC action plan for every year since Swachh Bharat mission has formed. And we roped in Chota Bheem. Chota Bheem is a very popular character amongst kids, if you remember. And Chota Bheem rides were purchased, and we created him as a mascot for the state. So we have about 4 dresses of these Bheem in Chhattisgarh that move around continuously, and they engage with kids. And we try to inculcate the habit of Swachhta in the kids from the school itself. So these Chota Bheem went to all government and private schools. They interacted with the kids, and he made sure that children know what source segregation is. He made sure that children knew what not littering in the city means. So these are some books that we've published. There's a very good coffee table book that we've published on Swachhta Didis. It was hugely appreciated in all the circles, and this gave recognition to the beautiful work that these Swachhta Didis are doing, and we felicitated the works that they've done here. So I'd like to move on to So because Swachh Sarvekshan instilled a certain amount of competitiveness in terms of sanitation, we took it down to the ULB level, and we took it down to the ward level. We went on to have a cleanest school competition, to the cleanest market competition, to the cleanest hotel competition. So every peer group, we made sure that there's a competition, and the hotels compete who would be the cleanest hotel, because a person having a cleanest hotel tag right over there at the reception would attract obviously more customers. in some reviews of Boo IB Boo, Make My Trip or TripAdvisor, you may find that in hotels of Chhattisgarh, you would find that they are branding themselves as the cleanest hotel. So this branding has been done by the Urban Development Department in Swachh Bharat Mission, cleanest hospital and stuff like that. So all of these competitions helped us create a competitive environment for Swachh Bharat Mission amongst the cities, amongst the wards, amongst the zones. Everybody was competing to who's going to be the cleanest. And then we linked these competitions to the incentives that the state gives. See, if a ward has if a ward has a good ranking in the cleanest ward competition, we would give them slightly more funds in development. So the ward parshads, the councillors, they were very active in that, and they knew that there was certain incentive that was attached to being the cleanest ward. So that is why they took it forward. We felicitated a lot of people. We had a competition called Kalakaron Ki Swachha Kari Pratiyogita. These are the certain, and I'd like just I'm finishing. So these are the wall paintings that we had. I'm just running through it. Then Kabad se Jugaad, the waste out of health concept. There are a lot of parks that we've developed. A lot of public spaces have been developed through this Kabad, and it attracts good traction amongst people. And this Malasur campaign was taken up by the state very religiously. This is the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav branding that we've done everywhere. The zero waste weddings, it was a very popular wedding in Raipur. It started with Raipur. There was this family that approached us and said that we want to have a zero waste wedding. And they didn't use any disposables. The gifts that they gave did not involve any recyclable plastic bags, and it gained good traction. And we felicitated the couple after their wedding was done through the mayors and through the public representatives. And we made sure that we disseminate this properly so that other people come forward and have these kinds of weddings. These are photos. Like I said, the women SHG members through NULM were involved. They were trained and they were used for the IEC of our Swachh Bharat mission. The 3R brandings are done over everywhere. I'll just like to show you the Digi Chinhari. So this one, in Swachh Sarvekshan, this is also something that was very unique. Like we have a Digi Locker, we have a Digi Chinhari app over here. Chinhari is basically a sign in Chhattisgarhi. The Chinhari word is called a sign. So what we did was that we have a very robust ICT-based attendance system in place, where the Swachhta Didis take their selfies, their location is geotagged, and the geolocation is matched through the area that they're supposed to work in, and that is when their payments are done. So this Nishtha app, the ICT-based attendance app, was linked to a new app called Digi Chinhari app, and their attendance and the data was fetched from the Nishtha app and taken here, and everybody was given this, and it was validated through a QR code. So instead of wasting resources on printing about 50,000 ID cards, 9,000 for Swachhta Didis for other sanitation workers, we deployed a Digi Chinhari app. We not only saved paper, but we went a step forward in replicating the Digi Locker app that we have through Government of India. And the other schemes that we have a very good scheme called Mukhyamantri Slum Swasthya Yojana, which basically goes to your doorstep and provides free consultation, medicines, and diagnostic services at the doorstep. So all of these Swachhta Didis are taken there every month. Their health checkup is done. Also, we have a generic medical store scheme where we have generic medicines at 50 to 80% of discounts. And right now we've sold about 25 crore rupees worth of medicine through these schemes. So these Swachhta Didis are given incentive and they are given additional discounts in these medical stores. So all of these schemes were converged, and both of them, all these schemes are basically cross-publicizing each other. The Dhanvantri medical stores are promoting Swachh Bharat missions, our Swachhta Didi is promoting the Dhanvantri medical store. And this is how we proceed forward with our IC, not just in Swachh Bharat mission, but with all the schemes that we have. We have some zero waste events, some photographs that I'm just running through. We also developed an IC experience zone, which JS ma'am and National Mission Director went to. Here we showcase the best practices that we've done in IC. Patan is a very small city close to Raipur, but we developed it as an excellence center for IC where people come and visit. And right now we're taking Swachhta Didis in groups to this IC experience zone, and also we're showing them the innovative practices that are done in the city. So this is just a few photographs of that. And at the end, I'd just like to tell you that top 20 cities on Twitter in Swachh Sarvekshan 2022, 7 of them belong to Chhattisgarh. And the top 5 states where the conversation about SS22 was taking place, Chhattisgarh leads the way, even before Gujarat and Andhra Pradesh, which are comparatively bigger states. And we have good engagement, as you can see over there. So I think that's about it for my presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your presentation. Moving on, our next distinguished speaker is Mr. Sangramjit Nayak, Mission Director, Odisha. To intensify the Jan Andolan, Odisha has been focusing extensively on awareness creation along with large-scale citizen engagement, mobilization and outreach. So we would request you to please start your presentation.
Thank you. Thank you, Respected Secretary, Mission Director, Director, all others who are present here. It's a wonderful opportunity given to our state. We feel obliged, very happy about it. Now I'll be sharing my presentation. The topic of today given to the state of Odisha is community-driven sanitation and waste management. So next, this is my initiation of the thing. I'll give a backdrop of what Odisha is like. Odisha is basically not very urbanized, but yet 17% of the population live in urban space, mostly in 5 municipal corporations and 48 municipalities, and small notified area councils. So it's 17%, yet it is catching up very fast with the national mainstream, with 25% of the population being added in the urban space every year. So this is the community-driven picture that we have run for ourselves. How we connect with the community through Mission Shakti groups, through area level federation, city level federation, the Slum Dwellers Association, the Transgender group, the West Cuts group, CBOs, Market Association, community members. This is how the butterfly that starts with a caterpillar that goes to be a butterfly. Now what's more important that my earlier speakers pointed out, the change or the paradigm shift from the contractor-centric activity, sanitation value chain activity, maintenance through a contractor is now shifted to a more community-driven approach, 100% community-driven approach, for which we virtually engaged 2,000 numbers of SwachhTalks. Each SwachhTalks was given 600 households, and 4 will manage SwachhTalks supervisors. So virtually 2,500 numbers of SwachhTalks and Swachh supervisors have been all the local people every day. So the collection, as you have been told, it is 100%. Its collection from the doorstep is 100% by the Swachh Karmis. The supervisors, these SwachhTalks, they supervise, but the Swachh Karmis really do the thing. They come to each household and that they are engaged through the groups only, Mission Shakti groups. So for the first time, I will say that all the activities of the sanitation value chain in the state of Odisha is only maintained by the women SHGs, the Mission Shakti groups, and transgender groups, and Slum Dwellers Association, none else. All of them are feminine at the cost of being called rather reverse gender bias. We feel happy that all the women participate to the Mission Shakti groups and the area level federation and the city level federation. Now, after being collected and segregated by them, it is carried by the Swachh Safaris. Swachh Safari is also a woman-driven battery-operated vehicle. We were rather very thoughtful as to how they will be doing that. But it will be very astonished to know 2,000 numbers of these battery-operated vehicles as directed by the government of India to purchase them through a particular mode. We got it, and now they are driving it. We are very sure that we are satisfied with the performance of Swachh Safari also. They are also from Mission Shakti groups. Now, the operation and maintenance of the well center, they will taking it to the well center. Well center consists of the MCC and the MRFs. MCCs are micro compost centers and the material recovery facilities. And all the workers, they are only women. So they do this activity here. The whole process will take a time to make you understand. But yet, I want to say that it is only through the community bodies, community organizations, we connect with the community. So it both in the MCCs, the material recovery facilities, and the micro compost centers, it is the women SHGs who work. And the product which is being sold in the market, it is all the money is only transacted to their own group and never taken or swindled or rather appropriated by the government. It is only taken by themselves. Now, the end product, that is the which comes out of the MCCs or the micro compost centers, is ultimately sold as the Swachhata or the organic waste, which is mandated by the state government of Odisha that it has to be taken by all the departments at a cost of ₹20, and this is being done, sold by the women SHGs. Also, the outlets are being maintained by the women SHGs. These are all pictorials. I want to make you sure that things are happening very brightly here. And coming to one of the things which is Odisha is pioneer is called FSTP, or fecal sludge treatment plants. It's a standalone fecal sludge treatment plants which probably nowhere in the country this whole state will be involved. We have started this. We have developed 114 urban local bodies now have got minimum one fecal sludge treatment plants. It is a sort of very simple approach, which otherwise when people started it, they questioned whether it is a technology which can be appreciated, handholded, managed by the women self-help groups. Now, we find that all the urban local bodies where FSTP plants are there, it is managed by the women SHGs. It's a thing that's with no technology or very low technology. So this is a thing which virtually sort of achievement, and we have been rather engaging ourselves with the government of India and CPHO that here is a model which is an alternative model for the country, and we want to showcase that this is one of the best model for management of the fecal matters by the women SHGs. There are also the transgenders. See the 134 numbers of transgender groups have been very beautifully engaged. So this is one of the large number of transgenders who are now entangled with us. We have enticed them, brought them to the mainstream, got awards. This is one of the award that has been shown to you. Now, ensuring community participation through many of the activities, as I've been told, I'm not taking much time. But one thing is that we are able to reach because of this vehicle. These women Swachha Sawaris, they have got one amplifier. So we amplify whatever announcement, pronouncement, regulations, notification, whatever word they only carry to every household every morning. So another thing that we want to come up is that one we have done, the government of India has been telling us that to bring into the fold the waste pickers. Now we have brought in the waste pickers. Around 6,000 numbers of waste pickers are already been mainstreamed and they have been enumerated. ID card body issued. They have formed SHGs integrated with the waste sanitation value chain. So this is all women-centric activity, and you can very well appreciate how we are moving on and bringing into this the sanitation value chain. This is one of the things which you will probably like, that we have fixed a particular day, 20th day of each month is fixed as Swachha Charcha Divas, or they discuss among themselves, or the Swachha Sathis, Swachha Karmis, all of them come together. Here the collectors, the sub-collectors, the district judges, SPs, MP, MLA, whosoever it is, chairpersons, the corporators, mayors, they come here. They do participate in the Swachha Charcha and also raise some sort of food for the sanitation workers. And it's one of the way where we also try to appreciate the work of these Swachha Sathis, Swachha Karmis, Swachha supervisors. And also the citizens who have done wonderful work, they get one appreciation from the side of the urban local body. So this is nothing but bridging the bond, and nothing better could have been done than bridging the bond through the community participation or fixing a particular day which no urban local body can afford to not care for. So this is another thing. Construction and demolition waste is a very cause of concern in the whole of the country. We are trying to entice the women self-help groups to come in large ways so that at least they will do something. It is in the incipient stage, let me be very frank about it, but they have started coming in and doing this activity of managing the C&D waste. Now, the integration with the urban employment scheme, this is one of the scheme that has started during the period of urban wage employment scheme during the COVID time. We wanted that at least the returnees who are coming to the state, the persons who are not getting any job at the time of COVID, they will be getting some work. And urban wage employment started and it matured, and we wanted to develop one scheme called Mukhyamantri Karma Tatpar Abhijan. And this Mukta scheme is also a scheme which does the sanitation activity. So this is a major flagship program for last 2 years, under which we have tried to bring in the Slum Dwellers Association, the women self-help groups who do the cleaning activity, all sorts of sanitation work we have tried to bring into the fold of Mukta. And also another thing is we have tried to bring in the rural sanitation people to our fold. I mean, they are getting their services which otherwise they are not getting, like the emptying of the cesspool vehicles of the rural. So rural-urban convergence we are bringing in. This is one of the things that we want to showcase and say that we are trying to help the rural counterpart where they are unable to manage their plastic waste, their solid waste, their liquid waste. We are trying to bring in the Gramin also to our, so that we can show them the light. They can take part in our activity, understand for a time, for at least 2-3 years, and some sort of rural or urban convergence as the government of India has been telling, we have done it here. Now, ensuring participation of various stakeholders, these are all pictorials. Now you can see. And all the usual things like felicitation of the important people, the citizen ambassadors. So I'm not going to reiterate. This is community consultation done in all 20th of this every month. Another thing is that all the city PTs are maintained by the women self-help groups. That's one of the things which probably has given us the best dividend. We otherwise were being cheated by contractors who were managing it, cheating us for a long time. After all the community toilets and public toilets have been handed over to the women SCG, we find a better face, better maintenance, and so that we're very satisfied with their functioning. And we have fixed a particular day that all the women self-help groups will be getting their payment on 7th of each month. And the bank has been directed that unless otherwise stopped, you cannot stop that. But if there is a stoppage of payment on 6th, the urban local body has to give in writing that because of their bad work, they are not doing it. So the day is fixed. So there is absolutely no hiccup for the bank to pass on the money to them. So this is focused intervention for the waste management, C&D. So what are the learnings? I will giving only 2-3 learnings. Community participation is the key to success, as everybody for which we are here. Involvement of the community in each stage of the program helps to achieve the desired outcome. Probably in the state of Odisha, we will happy to know that this is virtually virtual women bias, and we are really biased in favor of the women to make them empowered and feel empowered. So way forward is more involvement of youth, participation of citizens and prominent people. We have been doing it hugely, and we have got the benefit. As others are telling, we are also got the benefit. Thank you. I'm not consuming more time. Thank you for giving the opportunity. Thank you once again. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your presentation. Our next speaker today is Shri Swapnil Dinalkar Pundalkar, who's serving as the Municipal Commissioner of Vijayawada. In the presentation today, we'll hear about the resolves taken by the citizens in Vijayawada, which has transformed the urban landscape in the city, making it the 3rd cleanest city of India. So I'll request you to please start your presentation.
Good afternoon. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, sir, you are audible, loud and clear.
Good afternoon to everybody. Thanks to the Ministry of Housing and Urban Administration, Government of India, for giving us a chance, particularly Vijayawada, to showcase what has been done in Vijayawada for Swachh Sarvekshan, particularly in the field of citizen engagement. So I'll quickly go through my slides, and then there will be one video clip which we would like to share. So next. So Vijayawada Municipal Corporation is a very densely packed corporation. The city is just 61.88 square kilometer, but population, considering it is a temple town and also one of the main junctions, the population has crossed 15 lakhs. As per the 2011 census, it was 10.34 lakhs, but currently our estimates are and the projections are it has crossed more than 15 lakhs, which makes it one of the most densely populated city in India. As far as slums are concerned, 18% of the population is slum. The water supply, we are giving enough water to the public. The literacy rate is also quite handsome, which is 82.59%. Total number of sanitation workers in the city are 3,789, roughly about 3,800. Next. So when we started the Swachh Sarvekshan back in 3 to 4 years ago, seeing this, there was new program which was launched by government of Andhra Pradesh, which is Clean Andhra Pradesh. So the real push which is coming to all the cities, not only Vijayawada, but all the cities, is through this program. The Clean Andhra Pradesh program is nothing but bin free, litter free, and the garbage free city. And that's why, as in going along with this tagline, Vijayawada was ranked as the 3rd cleanest city in India in its million plus categories. Other than the bin free, litter free, and garbage free, the Clean Andhra Pradesh program, it also takes up 100% source segregation. It also talks about on-site waste treatment. It encourages own composting, and particularly at the end of the focus is on the visual cleanliness of the entire city. Next. So there are few initiatives which had particularly grabbed the attention of the public here, not only in Vijayawada but the entire Andhra Pradesh. One such was the the plastic ban, which was taken up by a few earlier commissioners, and then it is still continuing. So we had lot of awareness rallies, we had lot of awareness meetings with the stakeholders like RWS, the hoteliers, the hospitals, the restaurant owners, the shopping malls. One incident which I would like to bring to the notice of the panelists here is one plastic mega rally was taken up by Vijayawada Municipal Corporation, just like Quit India movement, which was taken up by the freedom fighters. It was quick plastic mega rally. So we are having a stadium, very big stadium, Indira Gandhi Municipal Corporation Stadium, and then we had our public representatives, we had the public. The rallies were planned all across the city, and at a central location, this particularly municipal stadium, the entire plastic which was collected on that day was dumped by the public and obviously by the corporation workers. So this really grabbed the attention that this is the amount of plastic which we use in the entire day, and the plastic was very huge. So seeing this, there was a phenomenal change in the public, particularly that not to use the single-use plastic. Other than that, going statutorily, we have already passed the resolution in the council. We have given paper notifications. Other than that, one more important thing was, as the public has changed, but still there were some commercial establishments which were not budging up. So we had an interdepartmental team, which was set up not only from municipal corporation, but then with the help of the district collector. Then we had set up teams which included even commercial tax, which included the pollution control board persons. And so whenever this team used to go, it included in fact police also. So whenever this team used to go to the such commercial establishments, other than the plastic thing, they used to start checking their own departmental things also. So the commercial tax people, they used to check regarding the GST and all. So seeing this, there was kind of a fear that once this team comes to the commercial establishment, they will not only ban the plastic, take out the plastic here, but then they will find out all other things. So that's why in this way, commercial establishments which are not ready to implement the single-use plastic ban, they also started implementing. Other than that, reverse vending machine we had installed in one of the major junctions we have installed, then major bus stops we have installed, railway stations we have installed, so that public also comes to know that this is something which would affect our future, and this is something which we have to avoid. At the same time, we also gave them next. At the same time, we also gave them the alternatives. So this was one of the thing then wherein the scrap which public used to throw away. Usually, public used to throw away very beautiful parks and very beautiful these artifacts were made out of the scrap. So we are having a scrap park which is in one of the main junctions of Vijayawada. A very beautiful such scrap mounting in the civic body vehicle depot officials along with the citizens. They plan to set up the scrap culture park in the city. The greenery was also developed, and then public started appreciating. Yes, till now we used to call this as waste, but this is not really waste. If we take some kind of a innovative approach, and also if we are motivated towards taking the waste to some kind of this artifact thing, there is really a change that can be brought into the society, and that's why such kind of innovation also helped us. Next. Other than that, since I have already told that Vijayawada is a is a temple city. One Kanakdurga temple is one of the main temples, and then there are a number of temples all across the city. Plus, it is also the floating population is also very high. The flower waste management unit, wherein the incense stick or something similar can be taken up. So this is still in incense stage. So we have already entered into the agreement. The production has already started. But then this is one of the good initiatives which public has also found very interesting, and unnecessary dumping the flower waste continuous dialogue with the public, else the initial motivation, the initial awareness would dry up. So continuously, Mana Vijayawada, Mana Bajata, that is basically our city, our responsibility. Such campaigns are continuously taken up. Some innovative campaigns like Eco Coins, wherein if which encourage the public to purchase more organic, more natural products. This initiative was also taken up. So every initiative, one initiative per 2 weeks, or one initiative at least for one month, we keep on taking up. One of the main focus of this initiative is always to include the include the public representatives and also the brand ambassadors into whatever we are taking up. So there was one such initiative was bring your own bags, as in just banning the plastic and then carrying your cloth bag, carrying the jute bag. That was one such initiative. One more initiative was, which is currently being taken up, is Swachhata Varosalo. It is nothing but a sanitation week. So 1 week in every month is dedicated to sanitation. Different themes are taken up for that week. In 1 week, it can be plastic ban. The next week, it can be anti-larva activities. Next week, it can be drainage cleaning. So continuously going to the public, taking the problems which they are having for the basic municipal services which Vijayawada Municipal Corporation is supplying, and then resolving those issues within 24 hours is also creating a positive feedback for Vijayawada Municipal Corporation from the public. And that's why whatever we try to do, whatever in the mission mode, whatever we try to do, public also naturally come forward, and then they start appreciating and start giving their own valuable time to such initiatives. Next. Going on the same lines, we have taken up n number of rallies. We have taken up n number of Kalajatas. This Kalajata is nothing but what we call Nukkad Natak. So the street plays we have taken up not only in the main areas, but particularly in the slum areas. Other than that, pledge towards Sachu Sarvekshan, these were all activities which we had taken up, particularly since we are having lot of colleges, lot of school-going children using their participation also we have taken up. In future also, we are planning to expand it to the primary schools also through the initiative called Swachh Schools. Similarly, the home composting training and distribution of such kits was taken up by Vijayawada Municipal Corporation, particularly through the SHGs, that is self-help groups. Next. Now, experience in learning with the involvement of citizens, the behavioral change was noticed as soon as we talked about segregation, as soon as we started talking about home composting. Since there was already a positive feedback towards the corporation, whatever corporation used to say, the public started implementing the same. Then moreover, the programs like Varosol, basically the week-long program on sanitation, it also helped us to gain the confidence of the public. Other than that, lot of technological innovations like online waste management system, vehicle tracking, CCTV monitoring, grievance call center, dedicated WhatsApp number. We are having a dedicated WhatsApp number for grievances in the corporation, wherein the before and after photos, and also the satisfaction of the person is, as in the petitioner is taken into consideration before closing the grievance, which is very popular in Vijayawada. Other than that, with citizen involvement, CT and PT, individual household latrine construction, also made us Water Plus also helped us in getting the Water Plus certification. Next. Under the future plan, I have explained regarding the Swachh Varosolo, basically the Swachh Week. Other than that, 23,000 green ambassadors have been engaged for garbage collection and disposal through CLAP program. We are having a system of the Gram and Ward volunteers. In Vijayawada Municipal Corporation, they are called Ward volunteers. They are basically, one volunteer is put as a liaison between the government and the public for 50 families. So one volunteer is responsible for taking the government priorities to these 50 families. So we are very much using these ward volunteers in order to take the program called CLAP, that is Clean Andhra Pradesh, to each and every family in Vijayawada, and that has also again given a lot of support for Vijayawada Municipal Corporation in the case of in the field of sanitation. Other than that, we are also planning for more engagement from the Residents Welfare Association, the SHGs, the NGOs. Every week, the trainings are taking place because again, as I have told, it is not 1 month, it is not one year program, it is continuous program, and we try to innovate. We try to bring out some new aspects for every training, for every meeting which we take for such focus groups. Other than that, citizens liked by the public, and more such requests are coming. Other than that, innovative concepts like each streets, wherein encroachments from the roadsides are removed, and then dedicated green zone is given for the street vendors, which has again led to the city becoming a clean city, and then organized street vending is also taking place. So public is really appreciating, and more such requests are coming from public, not only from public, but also from public representatives, that we need such kind of initiatives, and Vijayawada should go one step ahead and not just stopping at the third rank. Next. So that is all from my side. I like to share one video on the plastic ban, which we had taken up. अच्छा, okay, ठीक है. So thank you for giving a chance to Vijayawada Municipal Corporation for sharing the views. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your presentation. Moving ahead, our next speaker for today is Shri Pandit Patil, Chief Officer, Lonavala Municipal Council. We'll be hearing today how Lonavala has roped in school children as change agents for Swachh Bharat. So we request you to please start your presentation.
Good afternoon all, and I am very much thankful to MOHO to give an opportunity to Lonavala for presenting best practices. I would like having area of 38.84 square kilometer, having 12 wards. Lonavala's population is, as per 2011, in rainy season at the weekends. Lonavala is famous for its scenic beauty, waterfalls, and the famous Lonavala Chikki. Next. Waterfalls, Logat, the scenery around Lonavala, the dam. Next. As a strong involvement of peoples representing as well as the students, employees, Lonavala have got the 7th rank in India in 2018, 3rd rank in 2020, and 2nd rank in
I think there is some network issues, Sana. Just give us a moment.
Yes. Yes, sir,
You can switch off your mute, switch off your video.
Yes.
Probably there will be a better bandwidth then.
okay.
Okay. Can you test your mic again, sir?
Am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible, sir. Loud and clear. Please.
Okay. Thank you. Active children participation in Swachh Sarvekshan. The key of Lonar since
Sir, it seems there is again a voice problem at your end, sir. It seems there is again a network issue.
Am I audible?
Sir, you will have to take one complete sentence, then I will be able to tell anything. सर एक कंप्लीट सेंटेन्स वाचा तुम्ही म्हणजे लक्षात येईल तुमचा आवाज पूर्ण येतोय का.
Active children participation. The key of success is the major participation of students in Swachh Sarvekshan.
Yes, sir. It is audible now. Please continue.
Okay. Next.
So this slide is done. I'm going to next slide then.
Okay. Citizen-centric drive. Drive-based passbook scheme. Ward-wise meetings. In ward-wise meetings, Lonavala Municipal Council staff routinely attend the ward meetings in every ward to motivate the citizens for regarding cleanliness activities. LMC's major focus area of meeting is to sensitize citizens regarding collection, transportation, and processing system. The frequency of such a meeting is twice in every month in each ward to get the citizen feedback, guiding the citizens regarding the cleanliness and contributing citizens engagement. The second one is Swachh Lonavala Flagathon and Cycle Rally. Yes, LMC also organized a flagathon and a cycle rally in collaboration with HDFC Bank, and it was inaugurated by a famous Bollywood celebrity, Miss Ayesha Julka, along with the well-known Marathi actor, Mr. Siddharth Jadhav. Run with collecting garbage. There were near about 900 students were participated in that hackathon. Another one is city was painting by local artisans. LMC provided colors to the local artisans, and they painted near about 30,000 square foot wall paintings. The fourth one is drive-based passbook scheme. Lonavala Municipal Council governs 23 schools wherein the drive-based collection passbook schemes is implemented. Through this scheme, all students will take Swachhata pledge and will get the lecture and segregation techniques, etc. Every Monday, students will bring the dry waste in school. Students of all schools will collect dry waste and then weigh their waste and make a note in the passbook and get the check every month. Swachhata hi Seva campaign. LMC conducted weekly cleanliness drive in major market area, residential area, as well as tourist spots with the help of councillors and LMC brand ambassadors. The major areas covered in this IEC drive is effective implementation of plastic ban, LMC. Another one is no one your supervisor drive. In Lonavala city, there are total 12 wards having assigned by 9 supervisors. Citizen attraction and resolve the major complaints in the local point itself, LMC conducted a unique drive of Know Your Mukadam, where in all the responsibilities of the cleaning staff and area while distribution was published in with banners in the wards. This helps to reduce the problems, the complaints of people in LMC. Next. Objective of private passbook scheme. There were major 4 objectives of private passbook scheme to inculcate value of cleanliness and hygienic amongst the children for better future cities. To bring in this scheme, many volunteers were participated and it became a campaign of Swachhata. Another one is to create ambassadors of change. And the last one is to ramp up segregation of waste in the city with the help of children, and it resulted from 20% to 100% segregation. Next. Modus operandi dry waste passbook scheme. Modus operandi there. Number 1 is each students were distributed a cloth bag for the collection of dry waste in a passbook by their school authorities. The students collected dry waste bags were handed over to the class teacher every Monday. It was based on the dry waste type, not allotted. The teacher and the student ranked accordingly. Outstanding performance among the students and schools were facilitated with medals and certificates. In addition, LMC provided free passes to Adventures and Activity Park to top performing students, where watercolors to top performing schools were provided. Thank you. Next. These are some pictures of media coverage.
I'm playing the media coverage, sir.
Yes. Paper cuttings of media coverage for dry waste passbook scheme. Next. Next, please. The success or the key result of the passbook scheme is increasing segregation. When this scheme was started, the segregation was up to 20% and it increased up to 100%. Reduce litter bins in public area. There were many litter bins. Today, we have no any litter bin in our LMC area. The city is hygiene and very clean. Reduction is in the amount of plastic used by the citizen. There is total plastic ban in LMC. Scheme intensity implemented all stakeholders. Change the mindset of family members since they were forced to hand over plastic waste to the school children. This dry waste passbook scheme has a mention in the coffee table book published by WHO in the year 2021. Were inspired to the children and basic participation of dry and waste segregation. Positive impact on citizens' responsibility to the environment. Next. There are some photos, dry waste passbook activity in school. First one is passbook entries of school. There are names, students, particulars, marks, and signature of teacher. How to get a mark? For example, plastic bottle 1 mark, tin or foil 2 marks, household plastic 5 marks, cloth or leather 5 marks. This was the marking system. Another photos are student depositing dry waste collected in the bins in their school. Next. Wall painting by students. In Lonavala Municipal Council, students encouraged to spread awareness about the safe environment through wall painting message on a wall. LMC provided them color, and the students painted near about 5,000 square foot walls. Next. Swachh Lonavala cycle rally. To increase the student enrollment in cycle rally for school children of all grades, which also saw presence of Marathi actor Mr. Siddharth Jadhav was held. Approximately 3,000 students from various schools and colleges were participated in this rally. Green Lonavala. Next. Next, please.
So this is way forward slide, last slide.
Next. Way forward, that is future plans. We are looking forward to formation of Green Army, that is reduce, reuse, recycle. Paryawaran Mitra, by collaboration with colleges from the students of 11th standard onwards, Paryawaran Mitra, and will be part of LMCs in ward-wise activities. Senior citizens group, by making senior citizens group, creating ward-wise groups of senior citizens and informing them about initiative of LMC to make them important stakeholders overall mission activities. By conducting of Lonavala in various LMC activities. Planning special drives similar to further increase involvement of women and HSG self-help groups in various mission events. Continuation and revamping of dry waste passbook scheme across all the under LMC. Thank you. Thank you everyone. We look forward to maintain continuity in Swachh Bharat, Swachh Maharashtra and Swachh Lonavala. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your presentation. Our last speaker today for the session is Dr. Barsha Puricha, Head of Technical Cell at CURE. Dr. Barsha Puricha is an urban and regional planner from CEPT, Ahmedabad, with a PhD in Human Ecology from Ambedkar University, Delhi. Over the last 2 decades, she's been working on issues of civil society engagement and development, and her work particularly has been around engaging, developing, and designing inclusive and participatory planning mechanism within urban governance processes. Ma'am, we'd request you to please start your presentation.
Yeah, so I thank you so much, Sana, but I think I'm having a problem. It's just not getting up. It is. Thank you. Okay, so thank you, and I hope everybody can see my presentation.
Yes, ma'am, it's visible. I'll just request you to put it on slideshow mode.
Slideshow, yes. So thank you so much, and thank you to this team over here. And it's a real privilege to be here to share some of the ideas that CURE has been working on. So very quickly, because I think we are also on a time zone. So very quickly, I think it's a very opportune moment today with the SBCC framework to have been launched today. I think to be hearing all these states and ULBs and the exciting work that has been happening, I think the next step would be as exciting and challenging of how do we actually localize it at the city and the state level to be able to influence some of these behavior aspects that we are speaking about. Having said that, let me just begin with, because CURE is an NGO, it has been working in India. We've kind of worked with in about 18 states, in 32 cities, about 140 slum settlements with an outreach population about 8 lakh. So having said that, the approach for cure, we work on issues of water, sanitation, waste, livelihoods, the entire range of spectrum of issues that an urban development program comes up with. But one of the things that we learned very, very early for us, and that was a big lesson, and I'll come back to that later also, कि बिहेवियर चेंज कम्युनिकेशन, ये जो स्वभाव का जो बदलाव लाने की प्रक्रिया है, ये बहुत ज़रूरी है कि ये बिगिनिंग से इंटीग्रेट हो. कोई भी अगर हम काम करना चाहें, अगर उसका सक्सेसफुल देखना चाहते हैं, उसको अगर एफिशिएंट देखना चाहते हैं, इफेक्टिव देखना चाहते हैं, तो बहुत ज़रूरी है कि हम बिगिनिंग से पहले से, जैसे रूपा मिश्रा जी ने आज बोला कि लोकलाइज करने के लिए या लोकलाइज करने के लिए कम्युनिटीज़ के साथ बात करने के लिए, तो बहुत ज़रूरी है कि प्रोग्राम के आइडेंटिफिकेशन के दिन से ही हम इन समुदायों के साथ, उनके साथ जुड़कर बातचीत करना शुरू करें. It is only then that behavior change communication or social behavior change communication becomes a very effective medium to be able to influence this behavior that we are speaking about. So for CURE, it has been a very, very integral component. And whenever we've spoken about or worked on for the last 2 decades around inclusive and sustainable urban settlements, this particular aspect has been one of the key issues that we've been worked with. As we had discussed, because a lot has been said and I don't want to actually repeat on some of these excellent ideas that have come in today, but with that as a background, what I'll do is I'll pick up just one settlement that we worked with and try to show how is it that we have been able to localize some of these behavior change processes, which I hope that most of you who are present over here can take it away as an insight and kind of develop it, acclimatize it, customize it at your settlement and your city level. So Savda Ghevra, I don't know, some of you who are familiar with Delhi, this is a settlement, it's a resettlement colony which came up in 2006, 2007. Why have I picked this up particularly for this particular presentation or sharing of insight is because it is a resettlement colony. These were a lot of urban slum settlements across Delhi, which were in 2006-07 given a particular plot of land in the peripheries. As you see, the Delhi map is here, and it's in the 30th ward, which is in the periphery of Haryana and Delhi. So it is placed there, and most of these slum communities were moved or relocated from here to there. So there was a plot of land. There was this entire understanding about relocation, but the issues that were there in Savda were continued to be as integral to the slum settlements that they were there before the relocation. And that's why it becomes a very interesting case study to understand how is it that behavior change communication in a place like this, in a settlement like this, has become such a key tool of trying to work around some of these issues. The issues, as we've spoken, I think all of us understand, there was sanitation, transportation, safety, waste management, livelihoods, all of them, water, and some of these pictures from our archives actually shows these were the conditions that were there in this particular settlement in Delhi, and the idea of trying to work around developing one aspect was, of course, how do you address some of these issues, but the second and the more critical aspect is, once these issues are also addressed, how do you work around them, and फिर उनके स्वभाव में बदलाव किस तरह से लाया जाए कि वो issues के साथ वो लोग जुड़े रहे, बंधे रहे, और चाहे वहां पर क्योर रहे या चाहे कोई सिटी गवर्नमेंट रहे कि ना रहे, वो इश्यूज खुद लोग अपने मिलकर they can resolve it, address it, and sustain it. The entire aspect of urban resilience comes from locally resourced, and that is how these communities will continue to go beyond the particular project. So how do we actually do it? We work around first, जैसे बहुत सारी आपने अब सुना ओडिशा का केस स्टडी, we've heard about Lonavla, Vijayawada. So all of them spoke about community mobilization, but community mobilization is a critical aspect, but it is also a very complex aspect, particularly when we come to an urban area. So the first thing that we need to do if we have to actually integrate BCC in any of our Swachh Bharat Mission activities is trying to understand and map communities. The vulnerabilities that we spoke about, the marginalization that we spoke about, all of that has to actually be mapped, understood at the local level to be able to actually customize your BCC approaches and strategies for maximum impact on the ground. So that is something that needs to be done. And I think Rupa Mishra ji ka bhi presentation mein there was this entire understanding of working, and in all the other presentations also, working with local NGOs, local community groups. But that is an investment that needs to be made. So that is something that we will have to, if we speak about the BCC framework, that investment is very critical. Second is, of course, developing, as I said, the BCC strategy along with the communities themselves. We have to get them from the very beginning to understand the issue, to work with us, because there is a local wisdom. I'll show you some of these photographs that when we start forming of groups, when we start working with focus group discussions, when we start working with particular categories of groups, it could be youth, it could be women, it could be specially challenged, it could be transgender groups in a settlement. But once the groups are formed, the idea is that we understand the issues and they are co-creators of this particular BCC strategy. Because we've seen in the last so many years that anything which is not done with the communities, and we've come to realize that now, is not very effective. It takes a long time for that particular thing to become effective. Rather, if we get into the local context and get them on board from the very beginning, the effect is much more faster. Then, of course, building of the campaigns, building the campaigns around various things. It could be waste, it could be segregation, all comes from that ownership is very critical, and mobilizing and then identifying community champions from these groups and making them as campaign messengers has always been a very critical part of it. The second part that I said, as I said, working with the communities as a core group, I think the second lesson that we've learned is that you need to step back from a BCC approach after 2 or 3 years to understand how effective it is. And that is where participatory monitoring and evaluation of the entire learning participation framework is very critical toward the BCC approach. इतना इनफ नहीं है कि हमने BCC स्ट्रैटेजी कर लिया, हमने कैंपेन्स कर दिया, हमने बिल बोर्ड्स लगा दिया, हमने लोगों के साथ बात कर ली, बट कहीं पर पीछे जाने की भी बहुत जरूरत होती है कि 2 साल जो भी हमारा पीछे जाकर हम देखें कि किस तरह से